for pre-side event technical cooperation between Indonesia and Japan for the implementation of the Minamata Convention on Mercury, jointly hosted by Indonesian and Japanese Ministry of the Environment. I'm Suki from Japanese MOE, and the efforts and commitment for mercury management made by both Indonesian and Japanese governments, and our cooperation are special and very unique. And by introducing them, we'd like to share Japan's technologies and knowledge used as a solution for the problems faced by Indonesia in the implementation of the convention and their national action plan. Additionally, we'd like to showcase achievement and lessons learned through our bilateral cooperation with the future vision. And lastly, we'd like to discuss with the virtual participants about the opportunities and challenges and the effective approaches to replicate the Indonesia-Japan cooperation model in other countries. Today, I'll be joined by Ibu Yun Insiani, Environment Pollution Controller from Indonesian Ministry of Environment and Forestry, as well as 3 presenters who are the active contributors of sound mercury management. They will be introducing the details of technical cooperation between Indonesia and Japan. After hearing the technical cooperation practices from the presenters, there will be Q&A session. Questions from virtual participants will be accepted as far as time allows. As few housekeeping notes from us, this side event consists of video recordings for effective time management purpose, but the panelists are present virtually. So if there's any question, if you could leave it on the chat function with your name and affiliation, that would be great. We will try to answer during and after the event. Okay, thank you. So I'd like to invite our colleague and our friend, Ibu Yun Insiani from Government of Indonesia, who will give us the opening remarks and introduce us achievement of reduction and elimination of mercury use in Indonesia. Please.
Good morning, afternoon, and good evening. First of all, allow me to welcome all participants and also allow me to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Secretariat for giving a chance to the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia and the Ministry of Environment of Japan to share experiences and knowledge, especially on mercury management issues. We managed to gather here to take part in the said event to discuss policies, various technologies, and knowledge to achieve the goals of mercury reduction and elimination program. The said event webinar was held in collaboration between the Ministry of Environment and Forestry of Indonesia with the Ministry of Environment of Japan within the framework of MOYAI Initiatives for networking, assessment, and strengthening. We look forward to having fruitful said event with all participants here. Now, let me continue with the presentation from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry on behalf of the Government of Indonesia. Thank you. Need to share the achievement of reduction and elimination of mercury use in Indonesia. We will present the status of mercury reduction and elimination in Indonesia, which has been started since 2019, about 2 years since Indonesia ratified the Minamata Convention. Indonesia has a major concern related to mercury in the small-scale gold mining sector, as well as in the manufacturing, health, and energy sectors with the use of coal as fuel in coal-fired power plant. To overcome this, the government has issued several policies as an effort to reduce and eliminate the impact of pollution caused by the use of mercury in the mining sector and 3 other sectors. This is a list of regulations that have been issued and serve as the basis for implementing an action plan to reduce and eliminate the use of mercury, starting from laws to the ministerial regulations regarding with the management of medical device waste containing mercury. This slide describes the achievement during the implementation of the National Action Plan measures from 2019 to 2020 as follows. The box on the left of this slide presentation presenting the achievement of the reduction in each sector. For example, the use of mercury has been reduced about 12.4 tons in the artisanal small-scale mining sector. In the health sector, the use of mercury has been reduced approximately 4.7 tons. And in the energy sector, the mercury reduction reaches up to 0.7 tons. And in the manufacturing sector, the use of mercury in the battery and lighting industry has been reduced by 0.4 tons. This mercury reduction has been achieved by some measures taken by the central government together with related stakeholders as illustrated on the right side of this presentation. It started from assisting provincial or local government in the determination of local action plans in 6 provinces and 6 districts, provide campaign to stop the use of mercury by ministries and government agencies. We also initiated the transfer technology of mercury-free gold processing in some ESGM location and provide guidance for recovering mercury contaminated land. We also work in the medical mercury containing devices sector and furthermore develop our laboratory in Serpong as the Mercury Center of Excellence. So this is the end of my presentation. We are pleased to inform you that the government of Indonesia will host the 4th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Minamata Convention COP4.2, which will take place at Nusa Dua Convention Center, Bali, from 21st to 25th March 2022. We look forward to welcoming you in Bali, Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ipiyun, for your presentation. Indonesia's strong commitment inspired the people, including young generations in the world, and we are very looking forward to going to Bali, Indonesia for upcoming COP 4.2 and seeing you all in person. Next, I would like to convey the opening remarks on behalf of Japanese Ministry of the Environment. It is our great pleasure to make an opening remarks at this side event to introduce our bilateral technical cooperation for long years. We welcome all the participants today who share their valuable time with us with one shared goal to make Mercury history. We also thank the Secretariat of the Minamata Convention, which kindly prepared opportunities to showcase our achievement and lessons learned and think about how we can replicate our model in other parts of the world towards the implementation of the convention. As you know, Japan experienced serious mercury pollution in the past, which caused serious health damage known as the Minamata disease, and has struggled to overcome mercury pollution through various laws and legislations, as well as technologies for environmentally sound management. We are committed to support developing countries and disseminate Japan's experience to the world, which will be introduced by the next slide. Through this side event, we hope the participants could deepen the understanding on the obstacle Indonesia goes through to achieve their goals and the effort to tackle them. Also, we would like you to think if Japan's technical cooperation activities could be any help of your country's obstacle. And finally, let me conclude our opening remark by hoping that this side event can give future vision towards prevention and solution of the mercury pollution. We thank you very much. So now we are going to introduce the presentation from MOEJ. Hello, this is Suki Kuroda from Japanese Ministry of the Environment. Today, I would like to introduce Japan's technical cooperation for the implementation of the Minamata Convention on Mercury. So in this slide, I would like to introduce Japan's Mercury MINAS program, then our approach for promoting mercury management technologies, and also specific example of MOEJ's technical cooperation with Indonesia in 3 areas described here. Then lastly, we would like to introduce other assistance to Indonesia from Japan. At the diplomatic conference of the Minamata Convention, Japan expressed its intention to support developing countries and promote voices and messages from Minamata through the activities titled MOYAI Initiative. As part of this initiative, the MINAS, which is MOYAI Initiative for Networking, Assessment, and Strengthening, is being promoted. MINAS is designed to support developing countries' efforts in mercury management, and since the official launch in 2014, we have been proactively undertaking various activities in developing countries for global mercury management. If you are interested, our activities are introduced in COP4 INF document number 23, which is the compilation of the submission from parties on capacity building, technical assistance, and technology transfer. This slide shows MOEJ's approach to support mercury countermeasures based on the MINAS program. Firstly, ratification and reliable implementation of the Minamata Convention in partner countries are very important for us, because otherwise the incentive to introduce mercury countermeasure technologies to meet regulations does not work. Therefore, we are actively providing various G2G cooperation activities by sharing our experiences in formulating laws and regulations, which will lead to the strengthening of their regulations. Secondly, in addition to the Minamata initial assessment implemented by each country, we additionally evaluate the status of their measures to understand what kind of measures and technologies are required locally, which we call it needs assessment. At the same time, we regularly exchange information and mercury countermeasure technologies with stakeholders who are interested in supporting developing countries on what kind of technologies Japan can provide by hosting dialogues. Thirdly, even if there are needs and technologies we can potentially propose, that alone is not enough to take measures against mercury. As the next step, we consider not only the potential technology and needs, matchmaking, but developing concrete project formulation by seeking available financial mechanism, such as JEF, as an enabling force. So with this Japan's approach for the technical cooperation in our mind, this table shows overall picture of MOEJ's technical cooperation with Indonesia. as it was introduced by Ministry of Environment and Forestry in Indonesia previously, Indonesia issued presidential regulations on National Action Plan for Reduction and Elimination of Mercury in 2019, which was set in 4 areas described in this slide. The focus of our G2G cooperation is to support achieving their goals regarding this presidential regulation on National Action Plan. Additionally, we support developing data of flow and emission of mercury because we consider understanding the actual situation of mercury flow is the basis to identify necessary measures. As for technical cooperation, since mercury projects are being implemented by various donors in Indonesia, we try to avoid duplication with these projects or cooperate with them where appropriate to achieve maximum result. More specifically speaking, among the presidential degrees 4 focus areas, we provide cooperation activities in 3 areas, which is energy sector, SGM, and health sectors. Also, we are supporting the development of mercury material flow as well as mercury monitoring in the environment. Japan's cooperation activity in health sector will be introduced by Anton from Basel Convention Regional Center for Southeast Asia after my presentation, and capacity building for monitoring and laboratories will be introduced by Ms. Yasushima after my slide. So I would like to introduce our cooperation in the field of mercury emission reduction, SGM, and development of mercury material flow. Firstly, I would like to introduce our cooperation in the field of mercury emission reduction. MOYAI conducted a study on technical needs on mercury management since 2014 and have identified challenges they are facing. One of them is while majority of coal-fired power plants meets emission standards of mercury, the total amount of mercury emission is still high. Also, to meet the tightened emission standard on certain pollutants have been difficult. Therefore, multi-pollutant control measure is necessary. One of the other challenges is to install continuous emission monitoring system on mercury. Therefore, our bilateral cooperation started in 2019 to support mercury emission reduction from coal-fired power plant in Indonesia. Based on the feasibility study, MOYAI conducted additional studies and workshops in 2019 to 2020. We identified various characteristics in each coal-fired power plant. This means technologies each power plant needs varies based on the different characteristic. Therefore, in order to introduce the mercury countermeasure technologies, it is important to propose specific countermeasure technologies that are suitable for each plant. We shared this outcome with National Electric Company, PLN, and introduced so-called co-benefit technologies owned by Japanese company, which can achieve both mercury and SO2 reduction in 2020. In this fiscal year, based on the previous studies and feedbacks from the workshops, we conducted a more detailed study to examine the applicability of those technologies in selected coal-fired power plants. Also, result of feasibility study will be shared with various electric companies in online workshop. Secondly, I would like to introduce our cooperation in the field of SGM. In 2017, MOYAI organized trainings in Tokyo and in Minamata in order to share knowledge and experiences of Japan that could contribute to mercury management in SGM sector in Indonesia. 8 experts from different ministries and organizations such as Ministry of Environment, Mining, Health, Technology, and local government and minor associations were trained as a group. Follow-up activities are ongoing since 2018 after the training. We have conducted various follow-up surveys, such as providing technical knowledge to mercury-free gold processing facilities, identifying progress and gaps in the realization of their NAP, and shared relevant knowledge of ours, and exploring the synergies with other JEF and SIP projects. We have also organized a series of webinars this year. Thirdly, I would like to introduce our cooperation in the field of mercury material flow development. MOYAI has organized trainings since 2017. We believe that the MMF development is better understood in a small in-person setting. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to change our plan. Therefore, MOYAI organized multilateral online trainings in 2021 and 2022 in cooperation with UNEP and UNITAR, inviting around 10 Asian countries, including Indonesia. Each country tried to develop national mercury material flow based on available knowledge and data. This is the actual example of the training materials, and the right-hand side is the one that the participants from Indonesia developed in the group work, while left-hand side is the Japan's MMF as of 2016. This flow of Indonesia was created as a part of group work, and it is not the complete version. Countries will need to identify or acquire the necessary data and scrutinize the flow. Depending on each country, the situations different, such as how mercury enters, how mercury is used, how it is released or emitted into the environment, what data is available, and effective ways to obtain relevant data. MOYAI is happy to support the development of MMF if there is a request from any country, and think together about how we can best create an MMF that suits the actual situation of each country while sharing the experience of Japan. Lastly, I would like to introduce other assistance from Japan. Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, is an implementation agency of Japan's official development assistance. Currently, there are two projects that JICA is formulating. One is the Technical Cooperation Project with the focus on mercury management improvement. That includes assisting sound mercury waste management and capacity building for mercury monitoring and laboratory facilities. There is also a collaboration program with the private sector, and Mr. Iwase from Nomura Kosan will be presenting the details later. What is important here is Japan's cooperation activities for mercury management is not only done by MOYAI, but also other organizations with the cross collaboration with us, so that we can bring the most effective outcome by realizing synergies of resources Japan has. I briefly introduced Japan's technical cooperation for the implementation of the Minamata Convention. Japan and Indonesia's relationship and cooperation activities are significantly strong, and we are happy to host this side event jointly with the Indonesian government. By introducing our cooperation as an example, we are looking forward to developing more active work together to make mercury history. Thank you very much. The next presentation is Mercury Monitoring Cooperation of Indonesia and Japan by Dr. Mitsuko Yasushima. She's a senior researcher from IDEA Consultants. So Ms. Yasushima, please.
I'm Mitsuko Yasushima from IDEA Consultants Japan. Thank you very much for showing your interest in our Mercury Monitoring Corporation of Indonesia and Japan. In this slide, Please allow me to introduce to you two main activities on mercury monitoring. One is capacity building and improvement of mercury monitoring. We have in the past visited laboratories conducting mercury monitoring, and also we have been conducting training programs and workshops. The second is a pilot survey for mercury emission into the environment. In 2018, we have conducted a pilot survey on waste management facility where release parameter is still uncertain. From 2016 to 2018, Japanese Ministry of the Environment have invited experts from Indonesia and other countries to Japan for laboratory visits and to introduce mercury monitoring techniques. In 2018, Japanese experts visited monitoring facilities in Indonesia and also had an opportunity to discuss laboratory environment and future cooperation. Also, from 2017 to 2019, we have invited experts from Indonesia and other countries to Japan for a one-month monitoring training program in Japan under JICA project. In this training program, lectures and trainings on sampling, mercury analysis, data analysis, and quality management was conducted on media such as atmosphere, water, and human hair. In August 2019, under cooperation of Indonesia and Japan, and also with collaboration with APMMN, Asia Pacific Mercury Monitoring Network, we have conducted a training workshop for atmospheric mercury monitoring in Jakarta. We had participants from 16 different countries in this workshop. The program of this training workshop included lectures and practical trainings on atmospheric mercury monitoring, and also we had opportunities to discuss about current and future monitoring activities. Next, I would like to introduce to you the pilot survey which we have conducted at Waste Management Facility under cooperation of Indonesia and Japan. The objective of the survey was to obtain basic information on mercury emission and release from landfill waste management facility in Indonesia. There are concerns on a negligible amount of mercury emission into atmosphere and water from improperly disposed mercury-containing products in landfill waste management facilities. However, there is yet so little information. The two objectives of this surveys were to understand the mercury emission and release from the waste management facility and to obtain information on the effect on workers and surrounding residents. The median parameters that we have conducted survey on were atmosphere above the landfill, leachate water, landfill waste, and mercury emission from the surface of the waste. The information we have obtained were limited due to the small number of samplings. However, we were able to verify and test the survey method at landfill waste management facility. Also, we were successful in obtaining background mercury concentration levels at these sites. Therefore, we hope that our experience will greatly contribute to future mercury monitoring surveys. In the following two slides are conclusion and future challenges of this cooperation. About the capacity building, with cooperation of Indonesian government, we have seen improvement in monitoring capacity in many countries. Our future challenges of this cooperation would be, for an instance, data sharing, as each country will now be collecting data on their own. Then would be quality management of the data. Also, the challenges that we face now would be support for local and/or private monitoring institutes by central government of each country. In our pilot survey for mercury emission and release parameter, applicable method for survey in waste management facility was demonstrated, and also basic information was obtained. The future challenges that we faced at the surveys for these waste management facilities are to verify survey method in various situations, and also challenges remain as to how to estimate representative or average emission value from these waste management sites. Thank you very much for your attention and for showing your interest in our activities. We welcome your questions and comments. We're looking forward to meeting you face-to-face someday in the nearest future. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, Dr. Yasushima. Next is about Japan ASEAN Integration Fund project, presented by Dr. Anton Paranomo, Executive Director from Basel and Stockholm Conventions Regional Center for Southeast Asia. Please, Anton.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. First of all, thank you for the Secretariat of Minamata providing the side event for the COP Minamata 4.2. And thank you also for the organizer for giving me opportunity to share our current activity to support the mercury reduction and elimination in Indonesia. My name is Anton Purnomo, the Director for the Basel and Stockholm Conventions Regional Center for Southeast Asia. Our office is located in Jakarta, hosted by the Government of Indonesia. The Article 4 of the Convention requires its party to phase out mercury use for measuring devices by 2020, while Article 11 requires its party to ensure environmentally sound management of mercury waste. Most countries in Southeast Asia, however, are facing challenges in promoting the substitution of measuring devices to non-mercury electronic ones, because of the lack of capacity to collect, store, recover, and/or dispose these devices in the environmentally sound manner. Therefore, the Asian Institute of Technology in Thailand carried out a project on the development of capacity for the substitution and the environmentally sound management of mercury-containing medical measuring devices that were implemented in Philippines and Indonesia. And here we assist the project as the institutional consultant to complete the activities in Indonesia. The project itself was funded by the government of Japan through the Japan ASEAN Integration Fund, or JICA, and was implemented in year 2019 until 2021. The objective of the projects are to understand the present status of usage, substitution, collection, storage, and disposal of mercury-containing medical measuring devices, as well as their substitution, and then to develop the new or modify existing guidelines for environmentally sound management of mercury mercury-containing medical measuring devices discharged by healthcare facilities, and also to promote the environmentally sound management of mercury waste from medical measuring devices through capacity building and awareness raising activities. This is the project designed to achieve the goal. Information and data were collected using secondary data retrieval method, and then field observation and survey instrument comprising questionnaires and interviews. Due to resource limitation for the project, initially the main target population of the group are the large size hospital which has but more than 200. However, because we changed the strategy to use online form, then the target are all healthcare facilities in Indonesia, and this in total about 23,000 facilities. With the set time frame, we compiled 6,000 respondents, but we only analyzed 5,800 respondents due to incomplete information of the return questionnaires. And using Yamane formula within the margin error of 2% and the 98% of confidential level, the calculation of target minimum size of respondents are 2,300 out of total population to 23,000 facilities. Therefore, the project generates reliable statistical data information with the return respondents about 25% of total population. The main research question consists of the government preparedness, progress on the elimination, and the management of discarded mercury containing medical measuring devices. On the government preparedness, the Presidential Regulation Number 21 year 2019, or known as RUN PPM, and followed by Ministry of Environment and Forestry Regulation Number P81 year 2019 and Ministry of Health Regulation Number 41 year 2019 have dictates the situations, response, and mitigation to the mercury issue. Both Ministry of Environment and Forestry and Ministry of Health have also frequently and intensely organizing awareness raising and communication to healthcare sector through campaign and workshop, both of national and regional level. At the moment, Ministry of Environment and Forestry is also developing a regulation concerning the development of infrastructure for collection and storage of collected mercury containing medical measuring devices. In terms of national achievement, the government set a target of 100% elimination by 2022 as stipulated in RUN PPM. And based on the return questionnaire as of 31st August 2020, 60% of the mercury containing medical measuring devices was informed has been eliminated and substituted. But we still estimate that the remaining 120,000 mercury containing medical measuring devices are still present at the healthcare facilities. In terms of management of mercury containing medical measuring devices, we also recorded 17% responding store their broken mercury containing medical measuring devices, 51% respondent stored their substituted mercury containing medical measuring devices, and other respondents brought to the third party for its management, and some respondents just incinerated or disposed in the domestic water or disposed into the environment. For the second outcome, we developed the technical guidelines for the substitution and the environmentally sound management of mercury containing medical measuring devices in Indonesia. The objective of this guidance is to provide essential information and a set of recommended practices to relevant target users in Indonesia. These technical guidelines may serve as a management tool in the ESM of discarded mercury containing medical measuring devices from healthcare facility, and any resulting mercury waste that is subjected to the Basel Convention and relevant regulation in Indonesia. However, these technical guidelines may also be used by parties to the Minamata and Basel Convention in the region or beyond the region in fulfilling the requirement of the convention. Some lesson learned from this activity is that the project was started in year 2019 and actually expected to be completed in year 2020. However, The coronavirus outbreak begins in the end of the year 2019, causing a major challenge. And the project should adapt and change its strategies on the data collection. In addition, we also had a problem during the data analysis because of the incompatibility of the survey platform and the data processing tools. And to analyze 5,000 data information, it requires quite some times when we have to do it manually. And we learned the compatible tool after the project almost complete. Anyway, at the end, we are happy because the result of the project provide essential information to the government of Indonesia, in particular Ministry of Environment and Forestry, in preparation of the collection depot required to collect mercury containing medical measuring devices from healthcare facility. We do that the establishment and promotion of good practices such as this JICA project can be replicated to help parties to comply with the convention. So thank you, and I return the floor to Ms. Moderator.
Thank you, Anton, for your support as always. The last slide is on mercury stabilization technology presented by Mr. Hiroki Iwase from Japan's leading waste management company, Nomura Ko-san. So Iwase-san, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Hiroki Iwase from Nomura Ko-san. This presentation includes short introduction of Nomura Ko-san and technology explanation of mercury stabilization and its equipment. Nomura Ko-san is only mercury management company in Japan. For over 45 years, we have gained experience in collecting and treating mercury waste from all over Japan. We have two plants in Japan. One is Itomuka plant in Hokkaido, northern part of Japan. The other is Kansai plant in Osaka. We have been treating any and all sorts of mercury waste through roasting process. Nomura Ko-san is also a member of UNEP Global Mercury Partnership in two areas. One is the waste management area, and the other is the supply and storage area. Therefore, we not only treat mercury waste generated in Japan, but also import and treat mercury waste generated in overseas in accordance with the Basel Convention. Nomura Ko-san can treat any and sorts of mercury waste. Our waste treatment includes mercury-containing waste such as fluorescent lamps, dry cell batteries, and measuring devices. It also covers mercury-contaminated waste such as sludge and soil. Further, we treat waste reagents consisting mercury or mercury compounds as well as metal mercury. In the last fiscal year ended March 2021, we treated a total of over 33,000 tons of mercury waste. Next, I'd like to talk about JICA project in Indonesia. One of our unique technology is mercury stabilization process. Using the technology, Nomura Ko-san will support Indonesian government to achieve their national action plan funded by JICA. In this project, Nomura Ko-san will install a mercury stabilization equipment to dispose surplus mercury, especially seized mercury from ASGM. We will also provide training programs for operation of the mercury stabilization equipment, as well as analysis and monitoring methods for mercury in both of Japan and Indonesia. This is our stabilization equipment to be installed in Indonesia. Main equipment is a vibration mill, which induces a mechanochemical reaction to produce mercury sulfide. Mercury sulfide is also called as cinnabar or HGS. Mercury is stabilized through the mechanochemical process using sulfur. Mercury sulfide has low solubility, volatility, and mobility. This stabilization method is one of the methods defined under the Basel Convention technical guideline. The feature of the process is dry operation, but not heating operation. Therefore, this equipment does not need wastewater treatment and does not emit carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. In case of stabilizing mercury and sulfur, whose purity is more than 99.9%, mercury sulfide whose quantity is under 0.0001 mg per liter under TCLP is produced. In order to capture small quantities of vaporized mercury, sulfur and mercury sulfide dust in equipment, a dust collector, and an activated carbon filter are installed in this system. The capacity of equipment is 25 kg per batch, and the treatment duration of one batch is around 150 minutes. This is the mercury stabilization equipment developed for Indonesia, which is packaged in two 20-feet containers. Mercury is pumped up by the supply pump and is sent to the measuring tank. 25 kg of mercury is stored in the tank and is supplied to the vibration mill. Sulfur is weighed by manual and is inserted into the vibration mill. The vibration mill is the main equipment of the mercury stabilization process. Certain amount of steel balls are filled in the vibration mill. The steel balls enclosed inside the vibration mill move in various directions, stirring and crushing mercury and sulfur. The energy generated by this reaction produces mercury sulfide. And then mercury sulfide is sent by a screw conveyor and stored in a steel drum. Small quantities of sulfur and mercury sulfide dust are collected by a dust collector. Small quantities of vaporized mercury are captured by a mercury adsorber with activated carbon. In order to prevent leakage of mercury to outside of a working place, a dike is equipped. In addition, local exhaust ventilation system and the ventilator with the activated carbon filter are equipped in order to keep working environment safety and keep inside of a container under negative pressure to prevent emission of mercury vapor from the container to the atmosphere. I believe our unique mercury stabilization technology will be helpful for Indonesia and the other countries to develop environmental sound management of surplus mercury. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for the presenters who has contributed tremendously for the sound mercury management between Indonesia and Japan. So within this limited time, I'd like to ask some questions to the presenters. So firstly, I'd like to ask Mr. Iwase from Nomura Kosan, what was the most valuable lesson learned you gained from the experience of the bilateral cooperation, and how the lessons learned can be applied for the cooperation with other countries? Iwase-san, please.
Thank you for the question. The most valuable lesson learned is to understand what is the priority in the country. Regarding mercury waste management in Indonesia, firstly, we, Nomura-san, thought that the management of mercury-containing sludge generated from oil and gas sector was major issue in Indonesia. But we discussed with KHK and understand the management of surplus mercury seized from ASGM site is the most priority issue for Indonesia. So we decided to propose our mercury stabilization technology. Nomura-san has much experience in treating various mercury waste, and I'd like to continue to understand the issues of each country and make proposal according to the situation of each country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yase-san. Your company's persistence and also the commitment to start the business in Indonesia has been always inspiring and impressive. So the important to identify the priorities important. That was very important message. Thank you very much. So I have another question to Miss Yasushima. I think I have question to each presenters. So next, Miss Yasushima, in your presentation, future challenges in the monitoring cooperation were described. Challenges are often turned into opportunities. So how do you see the opportunities in monitoring cooperation in the future? You're maybe muted. I can't hear you. I can hear you. But maybe you can raise the sound.
Right. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the question. Yes, we have many challenges remaining yet. However, we see this challenges, the opportunity, so that we can expand this type of surveys to other parts of the world, to the countries, so that we can share information and share data in the future, and to contribute to the effectiveness evaluation in the future. And so we would like to continue this kind of survey. And I believe that I think I received a question from Teres through chat. We plan to compile the data into the published document in the future. I hope this answers the question. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yasushima. It's great to know that our bilateral cooperation doesn't stay within the two countries between Japan and Indonesia, but that to contribute to the implementation of the Minamata Convention. Thank you, Yasushima-san. So I have a question to Anton. So the technical cooperation between Indonesia and Japan has been realized by the two countries' commitment implementing the national action plans at the one side, and Japan's commitment to support other countries' effort in mercury management on the other side. The cooperation ranges from introducing mercury waste management technologies to mercury inventory and monitoring techniques with trainings and study visit and so on. That can be characterized as a Japan-Indonesia model. So what do you think would be needed for the replication of the model in other countries and regions?
I'm sorry, I have a problem with my camera, so I use my Miss Yun camera. So, so at first, for the replication of the model in other country, depend on the willingness of the other countries also, whether they want or they need support from the Japanese government or not. Once they provide their interest, then of course the government of Japan will be easy to take action to establish the same model, and the implementation of the activities later on can be discussed with the respective country based on their need, something like that. And for the region cooperation, I think we can start to raise this technical cooperation offer from government of Japan to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or we call it ASEAN Secretariat, because it will be easier to develop regional cooperation with the support of ASEAN. And then the ASEAN Secretariat perhaps will raise this good offer from the government of Japan during the high meeting summit. And then so the process of the regional technical cooperation may be easier to be achieved. And once this regional technical cooperation with ASEAN established, this model can be replicated also to other regions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anton. So in relation to Anton's comment, I would also like to ask Ms. Ibu-Yun that we understand that a number of various technical cooperation have been undertaken in Indonesia. From those experience, what is the lesson learned and how do you describe an ideal cooperation for Indonesia? Please, Ibu-Yun.
Thank you, Suki-san. Thank you for the question. You are right. The government in Indonesia and many government partners have conducted a number of technical cooperation to support the sector. This is to show that we do have strong commitment for making it success. But the other side, we do have issue and challenge to find what is the ideal form for this situation. The lesson learned that I have experienced are, first, lack of consistency to implement in the field, and then need a strong commitment to assist regularly the implementation on the field, and also lack of monitoring and evaluation guidance. Lastly, sustainability aspect never been involved, and when we talk about sustainability, it requires strong commitment and consistency regulation and strategy for long-term implementation. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I believe it is very important that Anton mentioned that the success of cooperation largely depend on their willingness, because I am certain that the Indonesia and Japan's cooperation has been rich and fruitful because Indonesia's commitment to achieve the goals and Japan's commitment to support developing countries are strong. And as Ibu-Yun mentioned, our support has been consistent since the diplomatic conference when we committed MOYAI Initiative. So when countries strengthen the Mercury management in a process of ratification and implementation of the convention, it is common to have struggles with finding relevant data or how to meet the convention's requirement, etc. But such time is actually the rewarding time to identify gaps and also the areas of measures needed. So we hope today we provided the overview of our cooperation activities and hope more countries will benefit from our experience. So I'd like all the panelists to turn on the camera to show our face to the audience. And there are two, we can't see Anton. We can't see you. Thank you very much for the participants. And if there's any question, then I put my contact on the chat function. So please contact the Ministry of the Environment Japan and have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much.
The Secretariat, thank you so much. Hope to see you in Bali.
Hopefully, Pak Richard.
Selamat malam, Bu. Selamat malam, Pak Anton. Terima kasih banyak. Sampai jumpa.
Sama-sama.
Sampai